Yo! So, a few years ago, I moved to a new city, and I barely knew anyone, and I started going to this new church, and I wouldn't really talk to anyone. I'm shy, I don't know. So I'd sit in the very back, like heaven forbid someone, tries talking to me when I'm not like mentally prepared, but I would see one guy and interact with this one guy, and he was the greeter. And every Sunday I'd walk in, I'd see him at the door, he'd stick his hand out and smile and shake my hand, tell me welcome. And week after week I would see him, I keep coming back, and it was kind of something I looked forward to, like I enjoyed. He eventually, asked me my name, and after service, shake again and leave. And I remember time going by, and God started kind of warming me up to this church. It started to feel like home, started to feel like family. And I just remember that this guy specifically had a positive impact on me, being new. And it was Christmas time, and I remember thinking, I want to get this guy like a gift card or something, or just to show my appreciation or something to show, like, to be new and be welcomed, it's a big deal. And I ended up being out of town for Christmas, and I was broke anyways, but I kind of had this light bulb moment. I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, like, this guy had a positive impact on me, and all he did was extend his hand. All he did was greet me. And I'm just kind of thinking on this and a little bit blown away. Like, how powerful is that? Like, I'm trying to get this guy a gift because of the impact he's had on me, when really, that was it. And I'm thinking about this, and man, I get this word, this thing dropped in my spirit. It's almost like a download. And it just says, be a greeter. Now, the Bible is full of examples and people who get a word from God, they obey it, and then a miracle happens, a transformation, or some great thing happens. It makes me think about the disciples, and one night they were out fishing with Peter, and they don't catch a gosh darn thing. They're fishing all night, and they pull out their boat up to shore in the morning, and they get a word from God, or they talk to the guy that later find out to be Jesus, and he says, why don't you try throwing your net to the other side of the boat? You might find some fish over there. They're tired, but they do it. They throw the net to the other side, and they got to catch, so big that it can barely pull it on the boat. Like, it starts ripping the nets. And yeah, I think about those guys. But unfortunately, those aren't the people I relate with in this certain scenario. I relate better with a man named Namaan. And it's found in the Old Testament, the story in 2 Kings. You should check it out. But man, there was this guy Namaan, and he's like a high official in some army. He wasn't an Israelite. He didn't follow God. He was a pagan. But he heard God was healing people, and this man had leprosy. He was a leper, which is like a disease, or people were shunned from their community. Like, you did not want to have leprosy back then. But anyways, he had it, and he heard God is healing people. Specifically, he heard that this prophet Elisha speaks to God and can heal. So he's like, all right, I'm making a journey. I'm going to go get healed. And I guess Elisha hears him coming. He's a prophet. I don't know how he knows, but he sends a messenger to him. He says, don't even come over here. All you have to do to be healed is go dip in this river 7 times. And Naaman's response is what I can relate with, is frustration and anger. And he was angry because it didn't play out how he thought it would. You know, he had certain expectations of what he thought would happen. He even says, and I'm summarizing, but he says, I expected this prophet to come here with this grand gesture, call on the name of the Lord, wave his hand over my skin, and I would be instantly healed. And yeah, the reason why I relate with that is because, like, all right, during the time I get this message dropped to me, you know, I'm praying and I got bills that I can't afford to pay. My car is breaking down, needs to be fixed. You know, the place where I was living wasn't exactly the best situation. So I had all these needs. And then when I hear from God, it's basically telling me to go volunteer. So yeah, I was immediately defensive. You know, I meet people all the time. You tell me to be a greeter. But man, God will put people in our lives to minister to us and to speak life. And that's what happened to me. And that's what happened to Namaan. He had this servant with him. And he just started speaking to him like, listen, if God would have told you to do some grand thing, you would have done it. So when he tells you to do the simple thing, why not just do it and be healed? You know, Namaan's like defensive too. He's like, yeah, we got better rivers where I'm from. You know, I made this whole journey. You don't even come and greet me. Like, you just tell me to go dip in this water. So man, I felt like Namaan in my situation. But yeah, people started ministering me, and God started like warming my heart up to the idea of, you know, I found out he wasn't asking me to be a greeter at a church that I just started going to. But what he was telling me to do is take a humble heart position. You know, someone that would extend a hand. You know, someone that would meet and greet people, and maybe not do it at a church, but do it where I can in my circles. Yeah, so God's kind of warming me up to this idea, and like I said, I'm reluctant. But just like Namaan, he decides to do it, and Namaan goes and he, you know, humbles himself. And man, I had to humble myself. And I remember the first time, you know, I'm at the gym. I know it doesn't look it, but you know, sometimes I go to the gym and play basketball, and you know, I'm standing across the guy while I'm supposed to guard, and you know, reluctantly, I just say, "What's up, dude?" Go to shake his hand, and he daps me up. And it was so quick and easy and painless. But something happened, like right when we shook hands. It felt like a barrier between us was like broken. And literally we became like immediate friends. And the next game, you know, I ended up losing that game. And he ends up picking me up on his team though. And so now we're playing together, like he's calling me out by it, Lord, you know, and like we're having these cool interactions. And first of all, to get picked up on a team, when you're a bad basketball player, to get picked up on a team is like the best feeling you can have. So it's already paying off, you know, it's like a team saying like, we understand your limitations, we're okay with it. Man, so like I already felt this thing like paying off, so I continued to do it. And day after day I would show up and shake someone's hand when I see them and when I leave. And it was uncomfortable too, like it was definitely outside of my comfort zone. And there were days like, man, I got in my head and it got the best of me. And man, some days I didn't even want to go to the gym because I felt like this was the whole thing. You know, I meet people as well. I'm the guy shaking people's hands and like, I don't know. You know, my name's Lauren. I'm spelling my name every time I meet. It's a whole thing. But it was manageable. But in the story of Namaan, yeah, so he gets this advice. He humbles himself and he goes and he dips in the river. And he comes out and he's clean, he's healed, fully healed. And the Bible says he had skin of like that of a young boy. So it was restored fully, even better than what it was before. And man, I saw my situation change too. I saw transformation happen. I saw, I used to leave the gym at the gym. Sometimes you meet people, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you talk, sometimes you don't. I've been going for a while, but you got some buddies. But man, when I took that step of faith and did this thing that it wasn't my idea. Yeah, it wasn't my idea, It wasn't something I thought up or like had this master plan. It was just this small, manageable thing. And sometimes, like, as a believer, as a Christian, like, some situation, okay, you're here, it takes a faith as small as a mustard seed and you can move a mountain, right? But I don't know how to move an anthill, But in this situation, God wasn't giving me some impossible task, some mountain to move. He was giving me something simple, something that I could do. Just extend the hand. And man, I watched my situation change. I stopped leaving the gym at the gym. First of all, I'd show up, be called by name, come play. I couldn't look anywhere without seeing a friend. It left the gym too, man. We started hanging out with guys, and I just watched God basically give me new relationships and new friendships, things I didn't deserve. And I saw God, open these doors for me that never happened before. I'm getting invited places. I'm being ministered to at the gym. You meet other believers. Like, it seems like God had so much in store for me that if I would have just took the step, blessings would come. But I did reluctantly. Yeah, I saw God change my situation. And Namaan, when he comes out of the water and he makes this proclamation. He's testifying. He says, "There's no God but the God of Israel." And man, I'm happy to stand here and proclaim the same thing. And man, God's faithful. And He's got a plan for us. And He cares about us. And also, when I look back at all these relationships and friendships and like adventure that took place after, that none of those things paid those bills I had. And none of those things fixed my car or helped my living situation. But it did strengthen my heart and encourage my spirit. And it gave me what I needed to be able to overcome those obstacles and to grow through them. Man, so let me challenge you. If God is like nudging you or giving you a word, take the step. Be a greeter. Love you guys, huh? Come on. That's about right.